Hello, and welcome back to Complexity Leadership for Practitioners. In this session, I'll be taking a look at two important concepts, emergence and paradox. First, let's take a look at emergence. Technically, emergence is the sudden creation of a structure from an unstructured complex system. But this is not easy to translate to normal life or organisations. Let's put it into familiar terms. Dramatic examples of emergence are things like financial crashes, pandemics, the fall of the Berlin Wall, and so on. On a more personal level, a sudden flash of inspiration is a good example of emergence. It may not be at all clear where the idea came from, even to the person who had it. This is commonly known as the butterfly effect, based on the idea that the flap of a butterfly's wings in one place can cause a storm in another, because the weather is very affected by changing boundary conditions. Socially, one comment may change the mood of a whole room of people on one day. Another day, it would have no effect. Complex systems have this behaviour. A complexity leader understands that emergence is inevitable in a complex organisation. One of the underlying purposes of the complexity leadership framework is to set up the conditions for positive emergence to arise. Enabling leadership is so called because it enables emergence to happen within the dynamic network of an active team. This is often the product of facilitating a path between the formal structure and the need for change and adaptation. As we know, the true nature of a complex organisation is a dynamic network onto which we impose some structure and control. Too much control reduces the benefits of emergence and agility. Too little control and emergence becomes random and efficiency is reduced. This is one of the paradoxes of complexity leadership. We're going to be looking at managing paradoxes, but what is a paradox? And how does it fit with the idea of complexity? Like emergence, paradox is a natural feature of complexity. Complexity exists between two contradictory states, determinism and chaos. Similarly, organisations exist between distribution and centralisation, freedom and control, change and stability. Conventional leadership could be described as influencing others towards a goal. Modern leadership could also be recognised to use feedback to modify that influence. In addition to this, complexity leadership understands the nature of complexity, including emergence and paradox. These ideas do not sit well with the rigid ideas of classical leadership, but as leaders in the 21st century, you'll probably recognise that they do reflect the reality in which we lead. While emergence can be managed by using the leadership modes already described in this course, paradox is independent of leadership modes and needs a specific approach. There are two types of paradox which a leader may encounter: apparent and true paradoxes. A true paradox is fundamental, like a law of physics. There are two contradictory states, both needing to be achieved. An apparent paradox is not actually binary. It just seems to be so with the current information. Examples of apparent paradoxes could be caused by some earlier decisions narrowing the options artificially, or simply by a lack of data. So how do I know what I'm dealing with? First, assume you're dealing with an apparent paradox and take time to find the hidden alternatives. What assumptions can be overturned? Where can other paths be found? If this yields more options, then this is not a true paradox, and you can use a standard decision matrix to choose the best way forward, or any other decision-making method. If, however, no further options can be found, then this is a true paradox. With a true paradox, both states are contradictory, so cannot coexist in their fullest form. Both need to be achieved. This now requires a balance of the two states, some middle ground which finds the spot of optimal compromise between the two. Over time, this optimal position will change, and so periodically this decision will need to be revisited. In this example, we look at a true paradox common to organizational leadership. Larger organizations tend to oscillate between centralized and decentralized leadership functions. Centralization reduces headcount and gives a common approach. Decentralization is agile and tailored to local needs. Each state is impractical in its most extreme form, so a band of possibilities exist somewhere between which could give the most benefits. So today, the decision is made to move to a centralized structure. Duplication in many areas of the organization is removed and central control is installed with the associated processes and tools. This removes the identified inefficiencies of the current decentralized structure. Time passes and some areas begin to suffer from the lack of agility that the centralized solution brings. These areas are never at the top of the priority list for the central leadership, so they're waiting too long for their needs to be met. The decision is made to decentralize these areas, reducing distraction from the central core and bringing about agility in these outlying areas. More time elapses and the central leadership team is beginning to become unworkable. Without complete control of all functions, they lack the critical mass to be really effective. Running two processes in the organization is also causing conflict. A couple of key leaders decide to move on, and at that point, the decision is made to move to a more decentralized structure. Over time, this is felt to be inefficient, and so the process repeats. This is a classic paradox. There is no perfect answer. An optimal balance today will become problematic in the future. Every choice involves compromise. In a complex environment, the effect of each decision or lack of decision will never be completely predictable. That concludes part 6 of the series. I hope you found it interesting. Look out for more in the future.